Row 18, plot 20.
Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. Just watched a horror comedy. Sometimes those don't work. This was on Vudu. It's called Courtney Gets Possessed. IMDb has it listed as a 2022 film. I'm pretty sure in some places it wasn't released till 2023, so I'm counting it. I try to stick to like doing current year movie releases, but this one I ended up watching it, so I'm going to do the review. Again, it's a horror comedy, and it's about a bumbling wedding party must battle the forces of hell when a bride becomes possessed by the devil the night before her wedding. Directed and written by Madison, Hatfield, and Jono Mitchell. um, a lot of the actors in this are kind of like that B grade. Uh, Courtney is played by Lauren Buglioli. Madison Hatfield is playing Caitlin Harper, and then those are sisters, and then the brother Chuck Harper is played by Stephen Reddington. Courtney's fiance Glenn is played by Zay Jordan. Courtney's bridesmaid, best maid, whatever, is Lexi. Glenn's best man is Matt, played by Byron Wigfall. And the big bad, the evil Dave, is played by Jonathon Pawlowski. And I hope I did everybody right there. Oh, there's also a hot pizza guy, by the way, Spencer Mumford. I don't know that he was that hot, but he did have pizza. So, you know, who knows what you would do for that. So this starts off in a flashback sequence, and Courtney is at a wedding. She's sitting with her sister Caitlin, and it appears to be that this was a recent former boyfriend that's getting married, and Courtney is kind of down in the dumps. And they build very quickly this sister rivalry between Caitlin and Courtney that seems annoying because they kind of do it a little bit um, too much at first, but it does kind of make sense if you get through it. Like normally I hate when they kind of when movies cram down your throat like this family drama. But this one, it works. So stick through it. If you kind of get cringy with that as well, kind of stick through it. I forgot to mention that Glenn has a sister, Jasmine, played by Najah Bradley. She's also very good in this. Um, this was a movie that grew on me. Thankfully, I stuck with it. It had like a slow burn opening, but then it gets into the comedy part and the horror. It's a dark comedy. There's dry humor. Chuck, the brother, played by Stephen Reddington, is so over the top. If the F word triggers you, then don't watch this movie because it's got so many times Chuck says the F word. And in the movie, for me, it was very funny. I don't know how to describe. At first, I had like zero likability for all the characters. I had no sympathy for Courtney that she was at this wedding of a former boyfriend and whatnot. Caitlin is automatically made out to be like this evil bitch sister. And the brother Chuck is just so rude and self absorbed that, like, I'm thinking, how is this movie going to work if I don't like these three main characters? But then you meet Dave. Dave is the big bad in this movie, and it's just hilarious some of the stuff that he says, but he goes to Courtney and Caitlin's table, kind of tells Caitlin to hit the road. Courtney is kind of like in that vulnerable state, which is important to the storyline that she's broken, and Dave just kind of moves in, and Dave being the devil, um, he's about to prey on Courtney, but Courtney jumps the gun, and Courtney's just so broken and looking at the head table with her ex-boyfriend, newly married. She just kind of like jumps on Dave, and Dave's just like, oh, okay, you just made that very easy. And then that's the beginning. And then we move ahead 5 years. And now Courtney is getting married, and she's met Glenn, and now we are having our bachelorette and bachelor parties. And they are so lame. They're so ludicrously lame. But Courtney definitely seems a little off. And um, we are all of a sudden like in this slowdown few minutes where again we're building the friend dynamic. Lexi, who's the bridesmaid, is having tension with Caitlin, the sister. Caitlin, the sister, feels second place to Lexi because Lexi was picked. Lexi's like this goody two shoe character, very prim and proper, and she's there to protect Courtney at all costs. And then on the men's side, we got Glenn and we have Matt, his best man, and they're just very uneventful bachelor and bachelorette parties. But then Dave shows up at Courtney's, and Caitlin happened to be the one that invited Dave, not knowing that Dave was the devil. And basically, I'll leave it at that because Dave is there to reclaim his possession because Courtney is, in his mind, his. She's branded. She gave herself to him back in the day. I guess you find out clues throughout the 5 year gap that there was some other things that went on with Dave. And yeah, there's all sorts of fun twists. A lot of the comedy starts to hit harder. You get some kills, you get some gore, you get a bucket of Beth, and you got to watch the movie to understand what that is. And yeah, like the Dave character, the devil, is so hysterical, and Steve Reddington, who plays Chuck, plays an absolute dickhead. Stay through to the end credits because he has a scene there. And yeah, there was like just, it was one of these movies that definitely worked by the time you got to the end of it. Um, for me personally, the mention of people being ordained ministers, there's two characters who turn out to have been ordained ministers by the Universal Life Church, which is an online thing anybody can just go and do. I've even done that. I am an ordained minister, believe it or not, and anyone can be one. Universal Life Church. So that's like a real thing, and I thought it was funny how they worked it into this movie. It just really worked. So uh, it's funny because when I first watched this movie during the first 20 minutes, I was kind of thinking, "Up, here we go. I'm gonna be bashing this movie." But then by the end, I was just like, "Okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be." But then I caught myself driving my daughter somewhere, and I started talking to her about this movie. And there are very few movies that I do that. And I kind of had an epiphany. I'm like, if I'm explaining this movie to my daughter in the car, this movie had a bigger impact in a positive way than I thought. So I'm giving this a higher rating than I would have normally. It's probably worth the $3.99 rental on Vudu. So yeah, check it out. Courtney Gets Possessed. It's a horror comedy. All sorts of twists and turns. Let me know if you're an ordained minister from the Universal Life Church, and if you're not, you just pay a couple of bucks and you can marry people if you want. You can marry your friends and your family and your neighbors and your grandparents just to other people or themselves. I don't think there's any rules. You can marry somebody to a dog because you're going to be ordained.